Wednesday, January 18th, 2017. It is championship week of the NFL, AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. 4 great teams, 4 great quarterbacks, and a lot to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Pepper Jack and Joey Peeps on the line. What's happening, fellas?
Where did this fucking NFL season go?
A blur, buddy.
Two to go. 2 to go. That's it.
Yeah, you got 3, including the big dance. But, yeah, it went back
2
quick.
weeks.
Pepper Jack, are you there, man? What's up?
I'm here. I'm excited for this weekend's matchups. I'm not too excited to see Lady Gaga perform at the Super Bowl. I'd prefer like U2 or somebody like that. But,
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Did you guys see the recent commercial that they were playing during the halftime promoting Lady Gaga on her halftime show? Did you see she's dancing and her eyes are rolling back in her head? Is there much more of like an Illuminati conspiracy theorist piece of bait than is that promo, that spot? Am I crazy?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Probably. I mean, you're the only one that actually watched that. I'm in misinformed because I didn't watch it.
I noticed it, and I wanted to send NBC or whoever it was. I wanted to send them a piece of my mind about some sensitivity training when they're putting a bunch of things with strobe lights out there. When a large portion of their viewership has epilepsy, and strobe lights can seriously cause major fits and problems, and I mean that in all seriousness. They want to talk about sensitivity. Yeah, they want to talk about sensitivity, but when people have fits, it's not funny.
Well, who would you like to see on that Super Bowl halftime stage? I mentioned you too because I love you too, but
I'd be
kind of who you like, Tom.
I've always seen Britney Spears put on some good performances.
Of course you would. Personally, I'd like to see Mr. Perry Como. One last time.
Perry Como.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Alive.
So no.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, okay, good. We'll see if we can get Perry on next week. See if he wants to talk about it. I don't know, man. I don't like to see certain artists do those things. I thought Prince was great years ago. I thought Springsteen was very average.
Didn't they have the Chili Peppers not too long ago?
Chili Peppers.
Yeah, they put on a pretty good live show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go.
I think Michael Jackson a couple of years back, handful of years back.
I would love to see a Tupac hologram. I think that would be something.
Yeah, if you got a hologram, anyone, it would be David Bowie for me.
Yeah, that would be pretty tremendous. Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
That wowould be some pretty good stuff. I can tell you who I don't want to see, and that's Lady Gaga. And the worst part about her is she's really talented. She's a talented singer. She's a talented piano player and musician. She just writes terrible music. I think her music sucks.
Now, does she write her own music, or does she have people write it for her?
I believe she does, but I think she works with a lot of producers. But if you listen to everything, it's all just open and then repetitious chorus, and that's her song. It's awful. It's like a third grader could write that stuff for a school play. Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has written better songs.
I don't doubt that.
No, yeah, Charlie Day's a genius. She's a hack. But on to it, man. That'll be the Super Bowl show here that we'll do in a couple weeks, in between the layover. Depending on who we see there, we don't know yet which quarterback we'll be talking about. But for today, we're treated with these 2 upcoming games, with really 4 of the best in the NFL. You got what's the schedule look like? Is it Rodgers and Ryan on Saturday?
They're both on Sunday.
They are both. It is. It's okay. It's championship.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, both Sunday. So you got Rodgers and Ryan, Green Bay Packers, Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, and then Brady and Roethlisberger and in the evening. And I think, is it the first time Brady and Roethlisberger have met in the playoffs?
Don't know.
No, absolutely. No, they met in the AFC Championship game.
You're right. I'm sorry, Joe.
You're right. In 2005, I believe it was Roethlisberger's rookie season. They met in the AFC Championship game.
I think you're right, and that's when. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I'll tell you what. Steelers haven't had too much success against the Patriots over the last 10 years. I think they're 2-7 in their last 9 games against the Patriots, and 3-10-1 against the spread in their last 14. Wow. So there you have it.
No, that's a red-hot football team. They showed it going into Kansas City. That's not an easy place to go play. That's one of the tougher places in the NFL to show up.
Biggest shock is that, high-octane offense like that wins a football. I think that was even more impressive about the Steelers is their forte is their offense, but they won a game in Kansas City on the road without scoring a single touchdown.
Yeah,
that just goes to show how well the defense has played.
It did. That's what I was getting at. But keep in mind, Kansas City's offense all year long was not very good. And
very vanilla.
It was, but Kansas City, their defense did a lot of bend, don't break. They were being moved. They were definitely
getting put drives.
Back. Yeah, they held up, and the Kansas City's defense was the best part of that team, I think.
Well, historically, Pittsburgh's 3-10 in their last 13 playoff games as an underdog. They were an underdog last week. They did well. I don't know about this week, but I'm excited to talk about it.
I am too, man. We'll get to the picks in a second. I want to break down just some of the other fun stuff. But quickly, let's go over what happened last week and what the old Pick'em team from the Line Sports Talk podcast went over. We had a lot of back and forth. Joey Peeps finished up 1-3. You were on the right track with stuff, though, Joe. I'm looking over all your notes. You were on the right track. I think you played some pretty good angles, and things could have gone either way for you on that. Pepperjack, you were 2-2. I was 3-1 and pretty lucky in some categories, but I don't know that New England-Houston game surprised anybody, but the first half was a little bit shocking.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy, you've said it on numerous occasions that you cannot handicap turnovers, and I think Houston got about 10 quick points there in the second quarter based on New England mistakes and miscues, which we don't normally see from a Patriot football team. So, I was starting to be a little concerned when it was 14-13, thinking,
sure,
I'm laying 15.5 points here. Something's got to give. So, it turned out okay, though. As usual, Mr. Belichick took that team into the locker room at halftime, rearranged everything, and voila.
That was a hell of a halftime adjustment.
Pepperjack, you sound like a transformer.
Yeah,
Transformer.
We lost your reception there a little bit for a second, but we got you now. Joe Peeps here called me at halftime of that game, and he said, "Don't you worry. This will be a Belichickian adjustment at halftime, and he'll come out and spank him." And I wasn't so sure about that.
Well, the confidence for the Patriots is like this team, other than getting some points off some turnovers, this team's not going to be able to drive the ball down the field on us. Brock Osweiler is terrible, and that's just the bottom line. But one thing I did learn about the Houston Texans in that performance, you get a healthy J.J. Watt to go alongside of Jadeveon Clowney, who seems to be finally fully healthy and prepared. You get that pass rush, even with a kid like, Akron Garfield's finest, Whitney Merciless coming out there getting at the quarterback. That is a severe pass rush right there. If you have that intact and you get just some kind of offense, just something resembling of an offense, that team can contend for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they
Joey,
were nasty.
You're right. That Whitney Merciless, he has played so well the last handful of weeks. I wish Khalil Mack would have turned up in that playoff game, similar to the way Whitney's playing.
Yeah, anyway. It would have been nice, but Merciless has been around a little while. What's he got, 5-6 years in the league, 5 years?
I don't know. I don't think he's got 4 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He played like a seasoned veteran, and he took over that game at one point or another. But again, Brady, Belichick, these guys have been doing it together too long. This is all – look at the teams that are here. Look at what we're talking about. You're talking about Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. Matt Ryan, a newcomer to this sort of depth in the playoffs, but we're going to talk about quarterbacks in a minute, but they're all great. And there's a reason why it's the usual suspects left standing here. There's a reason for this. It makes a ton of sense. So Pepperjack posed a question. If you want to ask it, you go right ahead. But I think it's a great question. It's a great topic to discuss. So fire away.
All right. 2 minutes left in the game. You're down 4. Of the 4 remaining quarterbacks in the playoffs, Rodgers, Brady, Ryan, Roethlisberger, who do you want in that 2-minute drive?
I think you could take either of the 3. You could make a legitimate argument for, obviously, Tom Brady. Yeah, I mean, probably the obvious answer is Tom Brady, being the history. But look how many game-winning drives Ben Roethlisberger has orchestrated, as well as Aaron Rodgers. Just look at that. Look at that throw. I mean, I wish we had video. Just I could watch that throw over and over again against the Cowboys, off his back foot, rolling to his left, throw with that accuracy, just on the sideline at a dime like that in a crucial moment. I mean, who else can do that? I mean, who else can you ever seen could do that?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is the master of the Hail Mary. We've seen that on a few occasions over the last handful of seasons. The way he's playing right now, the last 8 weeks where he's been lights out, I probably would lean on Aaron Rodgers right now slightly over Mr. Wonderful Tom Brady. You know, and let's just be honest here. Green Bay came into that game last weekend with their top receiver on the shelf, Devontae Adams banged up, and who would have thunk after this season that Jared Cook would be able to make some of those receptions that he made? And everything points to leadership. And Tom Brady is probably the greatest NFL quarterback. I never saw Y.A. Tittle play. I saw a little bit of Johnny Unitas.
I can guarantee you they could not make that throw he made against Dallas at the end of that game.
Talking about Rodgers,
take anything away from Tom Brady because he is a leader.
Tom Brady couldn't make that throw.
No, I think Aaron Rodgers is just the ultimate warrior.
He's the greatest, probably the best to ever play the position. Tom Brady, I mean, it's an interesting argument because Tom Brady's the most accomplished. You would have to say maybe Joe Montana.
He's the most decorated. Brady is by far the most decorated.
Yeah. Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is I don't know.
Brady is by far the biggest. He's the field general. That's the guy, in my eyes, is Christopher Walken once said, that's the guy. Brady's he's the man.
The guy.
But I can tell you that if I had to choose right now, how do you choose between these guys? I see Roethlisberger hitting Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone. I mean, you talk about a dime. That throw, but who else makes that throw?
Now he's got Antonio Brown, who's dangerous. Who you have to say is better than Santonio Holmes.
Antonio Brown's fantastic as long as he doesn't lodge his cell phone in the upright and decide to Facebook Live in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy, snap face.
There is a guy here who is an arch nemesis of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know, Joey, you probably weren't around to see this guy play, but he was probably one of the greatest ever in the 2-minute drill, and that would be John Elway.
Elway was
everybody
great.
in Cleveland has had their hearts broken. I know as a Raider fan, when you give Elway the ball with 2 minutes left in the game, good night. He was just very, very deadly. Aaron Rodgers,
I remember a pudgy Jufrode kid, 8-year-old Jufrode kid crying his eyes out when John Elway led a 23 unanswered points to beat the New York Jets in the AFC Championship game in 1998. And that's where I was really, really reintroduced to the misery of being a Jets fan. And don't make fun of that kid because that was me. That was that
you were
peanut butter.
Indoctrinated.
Mm-hmm. Never forget the tears running down that little pudgy 8-year-old Jufrode kid's face. Never again.
It was the tears rolling. It was the tears rolling over your cheek and then down your cheek.
Yeah, them roly-poly rosy cheeks.
Look at the little fat bastard. He loves the Jets.
Fuck it, man. I went and smashed some chocolate chunk cookies and cried more and woke up Monday and it was over.
Went on with your life. And all of a sudden, so many years later, there you have it. If you got to ask me, I want to answer the question. I'm going to answer it directly. And, Pepper, you bring up John Elway. I remember those days. Elway was beautiful in the clutch. As much as you hated it, he was great. Guys like Jim Kelly were going to beat you every chance you give. You gave him a shot, he's going to beat you. Today, I'm still taking Aaron Rodgers.
Except in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, Kelly and Elway both. Don't forget, Elway lost how many of them, Jack? 3?
Yeah, it took a while for him to crack the nut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not certain of the number. I know Kelly lost 4 in a row, though.
Kelly lost 4 in a row, which is a feat in and of itself to get there 4 straight times. That just is a testament to how great that those Bills teams of the
Matt Ryan is definitely the odd man out in this equation, though, because he's yet to be proven in a crucial moment.
Yeah, he is. But what happens if the Falcons run the table here and they win out and win it all? Matt Ryan's in the discussion. Matt
Ryan is elite, and the talk about the who should win MVP. I mean, that just makes him look that much better if he does get awarded the MVP.
I do recall a couple years ago some talking heads on the 4-letter network talking about Matt Ryan being highly overrated. He's not. I think he's a fine quarterback, and any team NFL would love to have him.
Now he's got his chance to prove it.
Let me just ask you this: if he's overrated, who would
Russell
be good?
Wilson?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers has a great offensive line. Matt Ryan had a very, very suspect offensive line the last handful of years. They spent some money this year. They got some talent on that offensive line protecting him, although I believe he throws that ball quick. But look at some of the teams over the years. I mean, look at Derek Carr this year with that offensive line. Look what Dak Prescott as a rookie was able to do. Yes, he managed the football game, and he had an elite running back behind him, but that offensive line is the key, and I think that's what if anyone said Matt Ryan was overrated, I think that's nonsense because
it is.
You cannot set up in the pocket and get rid of that football when you got 7 guys in your face all day.
No, you can't. You can't assess progression. You can't do much of anything. If you took Tom Brady, if you took Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, and stuffed all of them behind the garbage pile that was the Cleveland Browns offensive line, none of those 4 guys are going to be successful this year. The Browns may win 2 more games, maybe.
Well, you have a chance. You actually have a chance with a guy like Rodgers because of how well Rodgers moves in the pocket. The way he moves and orchestrates the pocket, I've never seen anything like that.
No, he's really special. He's got the best clock you've ever seen.
Oh,
Did you say clock?
I did.
Okay. I thought it was a Freudian slip for a minute there.
No, it's the best clock you'll ever see.
You were watching Ted Susan, weren't you? Huh?
Yeah. I said something about a 12 clock.
I would assume by the nickname that would belong to Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Roethlisberger. Whatever with the clock jokes. So I'm taking Rodgers if it's up to me. Joey, you got a man crush on Big Ben, man. Is that your guy in the last 4 minutes, 2 minutes with four points down? Do you want Big Ben over Aaron Rodgers?
Love me some Big Ben, but no. I got at this point I can't go against Aaron Rodgers. But I honestly think by history, you're stating history. Although I'd have to go with Brady, but those guys, Roethlisberger and Rodgers, currently have better weapons than Brady does right now. So
yeah, and I got to agree. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No. That was pretty much my point. They have the better weapons. Where if Brady had Gronk, I think he'd be the obvious answer.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Joey. I think over the last 8 weeks, the way Aaron Rodgers has been playing, you go with him hands down. Historically, you might lean on Tom Brady, but at this point in time, right now, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers. Yeah, very understandable.
It's the hot hand right now. I get it. I certainly get it. I'm just excited to see how this all plays out. Can I take that question a step further? If we do this in the all-time, and I don't care, you can go back to 1960 and take automatic autogram if you really want to. I don't think that's what it's all.
There are some Northeast Ohio folk that still hold on to that. He may have never played with a face mask.
Yeah, he never played against a defensive line that weighed more than a collective 700 pounds.
I don't know. Harold Beefy McGee could really penetrate the gap and get to you.
Harold was 5'10", 211 pounds.
I got four names
with a solid crew cut.
I got 4 names for you from the past that I would put into the mix today, not including the 4 we got today. Obviously, one I mentioned earlier, John Elway.
Yep.
I'd go Peyton Manning.
Yep.
I'd go with my man, Kenny the Snake Stabler who could just dice up a defense with 2 minutes left in the game. He was awesome at that. Those old Raiders, boy, I tell you what, that was the time of my life watching that Kenny Stabler-led Oakland Raider offense, hitting Biletnikoff for Cliff Branch. Dave Casper goes to the post. Those were the days. Now, the other one I think I failed to mention, but it's Joe Montana. So I think you got to throw those four in the mix. I believe they're all 4 Hall of Famers, correct? Or Manning will
now they are.
One. Yeah.
And Manning will be. Manning, you can go ahead and give him the gratis there. He's
those are my 4. Thank God they got Kenny the Snake in finally.
Yeah, I'm still a little bent out of shape about when they did it, but we did a whole episode on that. But
that was pretty shitty.
The Snake lives forever in the Hall, and that's excellent. And I don't disagree with any of those. I think Montana's name's got to be in that discussion as well. Guys like Troy Aikman were excellent quarterbacks, but Aikman rarely played from behind, if I remember correctly. That team always had a lead. He played on a great team.
Hall of Famers all over the team.
Yeah, but Troy Aikman was great. I mean, I won't try to marginalize Troy Aikman in any stretch. He was awesome, but that team was excellent. And Michael Irvin, to me, is like top 2. Top 2. Irvin was just an absolute playmaker. Which if he had a nickname, that'd be a great one for him.
Wouldn't it?
It would be. Man, somebody should call him. So all that said, man, let's slide into that first game. Rodgers versus Ryan. Devonta Freeman versus Ty Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Julio Jones versus Geronimo Allison. What's going on with Green Bay's offense? What's going on with the lack of Jordy Nelson? I did read where he practiced today. It was limited. I'm assuming he was probably a red shirt. Nobody touched him. But a couple broken ribs can't be good, and you can't rush that back. It's tough to breathe. It's tough to get tackled. It's tough to hit the ground. The good thing is they're in a dome. I think a couple broken ribs at Lambeau, and you're not playing. Agree to agree? If you're playing in 7-degree weather at Lambeau, you're not playing with broken ribs. You're in the Georgia Dome. It could be a balmy 72 in there, and that's going to help you a little bit. It's going to help you breathe. It's going to help you stay loose.
So much different. Yeah, if you're in that frozen tundra out there, every hit, every pass. I mean, every Aaron Rodgers 90-mile-an-hour fastball kills your hands, even with the gloves on there, let alone a shot to the rib cage.
Yeah, that's for certain. So let's talk a little bit about the line here on this game. Green Bay is a 5-point dog, so Atlanta laying 5. The over-under here, is that the temperature or the over-under? It's at 60.
I think it opened at 62.5.
Did it? Well, it dropped down a little bit because 62.5 is really, really high, but I see that getting beat. I wouldn't take it at that number. I really wouldn't, but I do see that number has got all the potential in the world to get knocked out.
Well, those two teams played earlier this season. I think Atlanta won 33-32.
You're exactly right, yeah.
That's a 65-point bagger. The experts are liking that over. 64% believe that game's going over. Who wants it?
Joey, take it.
All righty here. Well, let me just state the obvious here. Yes, we're in for a shootout. Is there any way this is going to be a defensive battle? Maybe a 1% chance. This could be a defensive struggle right here. Look for an aerial show in the
78% of percentages are made up on the spot.
But look for an aerial shootout in the dome this Sunday. Good showing. I'm going to roll with Aaron Rodgers in the back, though. I just think you got to go with the hot hand. I think the Falcons are going to come out. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a great game. I look for Julio. I don't see anybody in the Green Bay secondary has a snowball's chance in hell of doing anything, but snipping Julio Jones as he runs past him this Sunday. But Devonta Freeman, look for him. I'm just going to go with the hot hand. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's a man on fire right now. I think he finds a way to get it done. Green Bay 38, Atlanta 35, and a barn burner.
38-35 going over the number, and the Packers are going to cover with that +5. Peeps, I like it, man. I think that you are on the right track with that. I think that there's a lot of things that are going to be lacking from Green Bay's offense, but they just seem to make up for it. Guys like Tyrone Montgomery have stepped up. Geronimo Allison is at least available. Devontae Adams plays well. Jared Cook last week had a monster game. They found a weapon in Jared Cook, I think. I'm going to make a really bold prediction. that, believe it or not, whoever wins this game will go to the Super Bowl.
Wow, that's strong.
I know. It's deep.
That's a strong stance right there.
I know. You know me. I'm out on a limb. I take chances.
Is there a ledge? There's not a ledge anywhere near you for you to get out
no,
on.
No, sometimes I wish there was. But I'll make this pretty quick with Aaron Rodgers. I think he is the best quarterback left in this tournament, but not by much. We're up for some great play. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Matt Ryan, this is his day in the sun at home in a loud Georgia Dome. They will probably try their very best to slow that Packer defense down. If it comes down to defenses, believe this or not, I do think that Atlanta's is slightly better. That pass rush showed up a little bit last week and showed me that they can get after the quarterback, and a mobile one at that. I don't think Seattle protects the quarterback well, so it wasn't as telling as you wanted it to be. And Rodgers can just sit back there and pick you apart with receivers that can run around all day. We're in for a barn burner. I hate to say it, man, but I think Atlanta wins this game. This is Matt Ryan's shot at the title. I think Atlanta's going to win this game. Joey, you and I are pretty close. I got it 37-31.
You know, I don't hate that pick because I think you did bring up a good point there where if it did come down to a defense, then a toss-up, if it came down to it, if I needed to stop, I would rather have Atlanta's defense than Green Bay's at this point.
Yeah, this, too. Dick Sherman couldn't stop Julio Jones for half a game last week until Julio came off the field. He left in the middle of the third quarter?
Julio.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
So he sat out practice this week, too. Those toe injuries, whatever it is, they aren't good, and they linger, and they don't go away. He's going to get shot up to high heaven to get on the field, and he's going to play on that foot. But you know what? Those are a hindrance. They always are. Every player will ever tell you that had a foot injury, a toe injury. It's a problem. But with Julio on the field, Atlanta wins this one 37-31. I don't know that what's his name, Gunther or Burnett or anybody else is going to be able to cover. And let's not forget that Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman are excellent running backs. Tevin Coleman is one of the most unnoticed, underrated running backs in the NFL.
The only chance Green Bay has of stopping Julio Jones if he's healthy and on the field this Sunday is if that guy who drove the car and Happy Gilmore drives onto the field and takes Julio out. But I even think Julio's that kind of specimen. He might hurt the car worse.
Yeah, it's like hitting a buck, a big deer. He's a monster, that's for certain. So
yes.
Let me analyze this for you, fellas. Wow. I got a different angle because that's why you have me on this show.
Not the best color man in business for nothing.
Huh?
Never mind. Go ahead.
The computer is predicting a 35-18 Atlanta Falcon victory. Computer over the last handful of weeks has been pretty good. I think that the computer predicted the blowout victory last weekend, Atlanta over Seattle, which I did not see coming. I thought that was going to be closer to the vest. I'm telling you right here, right now, that
computer went against Rodgers last week.
Yeah, that 60-point spread, I don't like it, and here's why. These two teams, these two quarterbacks do not turn the ball over. You saw Aaron Rodgers get nearly sacked late in the game, held onto that football. I don't know how he did it, but he just does not want to turn that football over, especially in enemy territory. I don't see either team making any stupid mistakes like that. Therefore, I see an awful lot of ball control offense on both sides of the ball. I do see a lot of scoring, but I'm going to go out on a ledge, and I do believe this is going to be a great game. I'm going to go with Joey, though. Aaron Rodgers is just too damn hot right now to go against him. He finds a way to win. He's going to win it in the last 2 minutes like we predicted earlier. I'm going Green Bay 30, Atlanta 27. I see Julio Jones being more of a decoy in this game because I've had Julio all year. He's been banged up all year. And you continuously start him on your fantasy teams, but the guys like Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel, and even can't think what's the other guy's name?
Mitch
Cumstein, yeah. Another guy, number 16, the second-year player, but can't think of his name offhand. Yes, Justin Hardy.
Justin Hardy. Aldrick Robinson is another.
Yeah, I just see, and you're right, because the Packers' defensive backfield is so banged up, they're not going to know what to do. They're going to follow Julio around the first quarter, and you watch the other receivers find a way to get open, and you watch Atlanta jump out to a lead in this game. But hold on tight, because with Aaron Rodgers behind center, there's always a chance. 30-27 Green Bay, it's going to go under that total.
Yeah, that's a good play, too, man. This is a tough game to handicap all around, and I'm going to put a pencil to it as we get closer to the game. But those running backs in Atlanta just are so good. They're so good. Freeman and Tevin Coleman, I'm just so impressed with him. That guy's a number one anywhere else in the NFL.
Just a very, very loaded offense from top to bottom. Even you got a second wide receiver like Mohamed Sanu who can play, too. I mean, it's a very, very, very stacked offense.
So a lot of cool things coming for is that the first game of the week? And I believe it is. Yep, it is. That's 3:05 Eastern time start. So on to game 2, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Patriots are a 5.5-point home favorite. Over-under here is at 50.5. 50.5. Joey Peeps, I want to hear what you got to say.
Bean. That's what I got to say.
I don't even know what that means, but I know I know your man crush. Your man crush is gone.
You never saw the South Park when Cartman had J-Lo on his hand, and she liked Ben Affleck. She just went, Bean.
Bean. I do remember that. That was a decade plus ago.
Yes, it was. Still a classic. But guys, I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll with the Pittsburgh Steelers with the upset in Foxborough. Yes, I think it's at a 5.5. I'll take 5.5 all day long. I really think the weapons. I think their offense is on point at this moment. And I saw some things in that loss against the Texans last week. This could be that game because the Steelers defense
nobody lost to
played.
The Texans last week.
No, I saw some things though. They got pressure on Brady and Chris Hogan and some of these weapons. I'm really seeing first the absence of Gronk in this offense, and I think it's gonna materialize in this game. I think it'll be a good one though. But I like the Pittsburgh Steelers to pull this one out 28-24.
Wow.
Rob
Gronkowski.
You're going over.
The absence of Gronk makes the difference.
Gronkowski. Gronkowski. Yeah.
Hey, you know what, guys?
Will probably make a difference. What's up, Pepper Jack?
I watched a movie last night called Now You See Me Part 2. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those. But The Magicians.
I know what it's about, yeah.
Anyhow, that's what Bill Belichick is. I was waiting for him to make a cameo in that movie because he's a magician. Because he can take 5 days, 6 days, whatever it takes, put together a game plan that is different every week. You know, last week we saw Deion Lewis. We saw the Deion Lewis show, didn't we? And by the way, the Cleveland Browns cut that guy. I don't know if you're aware of that. I'm sure you both are. They cut him.
I am.
Yeah. They also cut Taylor Gabriel from Atlanta because those two were not good enough to be on a 1-15 Cleveland Browns team. But anyway, that's a whole different story, different show. Let me just tell you what I think of Bill Belichick and how he outmaneuvers his opponents. And I think, as we mentioned last week, it was the Deion Lewis show. I'm watching for a lot of LeGarrette Blount this week. We haven't seen him all throughout the playoffs. Well, they've only played one game, but he hadn't played a whole lot over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They've been resting him up, and I believe they've been resting him up for Sunday. New England has Pittsburgh's number, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Ben Roethlisberger is a quality quarterback, but guess what? He didn't get the Pittsburgh Steelers in the end zone last week. I think that's troublesome when you got Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and Big Ben, and you don't put a 6 on the board. I see New England being more turnover free. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it offhand, but I don't see them making the stupid mistakes that they made against Houston last week. Tom Brady has just been a man possessed since that 4-game suspension. Everybody on this radio show and just about everybody in America knew that Tom Brady was going to be in another AFC Championship game this year after that Deflategate fiasco.
Yes. Yeah, it was straight bullshit.
I'm going to stick it to the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend because I just don't think that anybody can match Bill Belichick's mind when it comes to designing a game plan. I'm going New England 27, Pittsburgh 16. I see the Pittsburgh putting one in the end zone, but I see Chris Boswell hitting 3 chip shots again to add to his fantastic postseason. Give me New England 27, Pittsburgh 16. Game goes under the 50.
I like it. I like the approach. I like that you brought up LeGarrette Blount. We all know real well that the New England Patriots attack the opponent's weakness. Belichick puts that together week in and week out. You can go back to the beginning of the season when Brady's on his 4-game suspension and Jacoby Brissett gets a start and goes out and thumps somebody. And all they did was they adjust. It was Houston, wasn't it? But they adjusted what they did. They took Jacoby Brissett's strengths and played to those. They put him in a run option, a read option that Houston did not see coming, and it was enough to win the game. The following week when they went back out with Brissett, Buffalo shut him out. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Belichick's going to attack the weakness of Pittsburgh. It's going to be tough to find. That Pittsburgh defense has gotten a lot better as the year's gone on. It wasn't that great early on, but like anything else, I think it gelled. It came together. Mike Tomlin's no slouch. But I think that the thing to note is you watched the Deion Lewis show last week. You watched LeGarrette Blount just stay fresh, and I think there's something to that. LeGarrette Blount probably has something in his back pocket that he'd like to stick up the ghoulie of the Rooneys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you recall, he didn't have the best visit there, and when he went back home to New England, everything seemed to get much better for one LeGarrette Blount. He's going to like to ghoulie pump his old mates over there, and I think Belichick will use that against him as best he can. Brady hasn't been awesome in the playoffs. He's been good. He hasn't been awesome. He's used the talent around him to his advantage, guys like Deion Lewis.
That's a very good point, Tom. Tom Brady, over the course of the conference championship games that he's played in, has a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So he has not been ecstatic by any stretch of the imagination in the conference championship games. So
hasn't been on fire. But
nope.
That said, this is his 11th AFC Championship game. That deserves a tip of the hat right there. You've been to 11. How many you been to, Joe?
About too many. I can't count. I mean,
yeah,
just,
put the controller down.
Just forget. No, actually, I suck at that too. But
yeah.
I put that on rookie, and I run up. I remember one season I had Sean Green, the New York Jets, win the MVP award on rookie. Remember Sean Green?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You play the Raiders 16 weeks in a row with Sean Green. But that said, I think New England handles Pittsburgh. I really do. Part of me wants to see some sort of upset sneaking in here, but I watched intently that Pittsburgh-Kansas City game the other night. Pittsburgh's offense is great. There's no doubt about it. Le'Veon Bell is great. Antonio Brown is great. Young guys like Eli Rogers can play. Jesse James caught everything thrown to him. He was a first-down machine. Bailed Ben out a few times. Ben moves around well. The Patriots' defense, I don't think, is elite. I think it's good. I don't think it's elite. I think it's good.
Belichick has a habit.
One thing is the Patriots do know how to force turnovers, though. It's one thing they can do on defense. They give up some yards and they give up some points, but they always seem to force, I will give it this, they do seem to force that timely turnover when they need to.
I'm going to go with timely, yes. I don't know that they've been that great on the turnover play this year, but yeah, you know what? You're right. They did it against Houston the other night as they just got to Brock Osweiler. The difference is Brock and Ben might be an inch apart in height, but miles apart in ability. Ben's the kind of guy that can beat you. But go ahead, Jack. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that Belichick is also notorious for designing a defensive game plan where he's going to take somebody out of the mix. And I'm curious. Does he go after Le'Veon Bell? Does he go after Antonio Brown? Who is the strongest point on that Pittsburgh Steelers offense that Belichick is going to try to remove?
I think he's got to attack Antonio Brown. That's a great question. I think he's got to try to take Antonio Brown, and let me just take a guess why. Le'Veon Bell, earlier in the season, out, suspended. I don't know, was he suspended? Was he injured? I don't know what he was doing.
Suspended.
He was suspended. D'Angelo Williams played the first 4 weeks. D'Angelo Williams played great. You can run behind that line. Bell is a dangerous. He is a clock gobbler. He will eat up the clock when given the opportunity. But I think if you take Bell out, or if you take Brown out of that, the ability to stretch the field is still there on the other side. But I think a guy like Eli Rogers,
a clock gobbler.
Yeah. You gotta have a little fun.
Did you say clock gobbler?
I did. God, what is with you guys? I think that taking Antonio Brown out of the game is not something you can do easily. But you know what? I'm going to backtrack. I think if you're Belichick, you have to get up front and you have to get after Big Ben. And in the midst of doing that, you got to take Le'Veon Bell out. They have a lot of that Steelers. He's got a lot of weapons, but the secondary of New England is not bad. But like I said, you got to be careful with Le'Veon Bell being the clock gobbler that he can be. The point, yeah, I'm actually starting to like that a little bit myself.
He's such a clock gobbler.
Quit being a clock gobbler. Well, but that's the idea, is you want to keep the ball out of Tom Brady and New England Patriots' hands. But I don't know if the Patriots have the weapons that they once had. I mean, Malcolm Mitchell hurt. Like Joey said, is Chris Hogan great?
No,
he's quick, man.
It's almost like they find these guys, the Welkers, the Edelmans, the Hogans. Don't they all look, the Amendolas, don't they all look the same? It's almost like they produce them in assembly line in Foxborough, guys that look like that and play very, very, very similar styles of football. It's weird.
And when Chris Hogan became a free agent last year, I knew that Bill Belichick would go after him, because you're absolutely right. He fits right into that offensive scheme. That little guy that can get under the radar, fly through the linebackers across the middle, and he's been great downfield too this year.
I think you go up to him and there's a tag on him that says "Made by Gillette." I mean,
yeah, he's built for that system. He's built for that offense and everything it is they try to do. What's his ass on the other side? Edelman is another one. How's Pittsburgh's secondary?
It's played better, but it's still probably their Achilles heel of the defense.
How did they do against a guy like Tyreek Hill last week?
Pretty well.
I didn't hear much. You didn't hear much about him.
Took him out of the game, and I think there's something to be said for that, because I think the Kansas City Chiefs were where they were in the second half of the season because of Tyreek Hill. It was a big play offense. They didn't do jack shit. Spencer Ware disappeared the second half of the season in Kansas City. Alex Smith, I'm sorry. I've tried to like him. He's very average.
Well, I'm going to tell you now, though.
He's allergic to throwing the ball down the field.
Well, I think
I don't know if they have many down the field targets in Kansas City, but it's still, Alex Smith.
There were a handful of situations
he missed
Sunday night. Yeah.
Or they dropped him, rather.
Travis Kelce, right in his hands on a couple occasions.
Dropped it.
Also, if you recall, the Steeler defensive backs got in Travis Kelce's head during that game. I think that Mr. Belichick probably watched this game film about 23,000 times since Sunday. So I do think that you may see a little bit of the Martellus Bennett show, because I think that Pittsburgh might have some trouble defending the tight end. If Kelce held on to that one pass early on in the game, it could have been, they lost by 2. That could have been a 3-point.
That personal foul on Kelce that cost his team like that, I guarantee if he played on a Belichick team, that's the kind of shit that'll get you cut the next day.
It'll get you a one hell of a tongue lashing. That's for certain. Let's not forget, though, in that too, Kansas City's driving late in the fourth quarter, and there's that delay of game penalty. That was monstrous when Smith couldn't get that call off. Monstrous. It pushed him back another 5 yards, and it took this momentum. It sucked the life out of the stadium. It was just one big disappointment, a lot like the majority of my life. It just ended everything that they had as they were moving forward. It just died. And that was painful to watch, and I shook my head going, you just can't do that if you're a championship team. I don't know that Pittsburgh is as good as they're billed to be, but I think the team's hot, and that's where you got to be this time of year. If you're hot in January, something good happens in the NFL. To my pick, I hate to do this. I really, really hate it, but I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they find a way to go in. I really do. I think they find a way to go in there, and they're going to beat the New England Patriots 20-16.
Whew. Old Bill Belichick and his New England Patriots, Tom Brady-led Patriots to 16 points.
That's it, man. I know it's a swallow, but these teams met back in Week 7, and New England won that game 27-16. As a matter of fact, Pepperjack.
Hey, Joey, did he just use the word swallow now on top of clock gobbler and everything else?
You know those clock gobblers. They tend to do that.
You got to swallow your pride before you take a tongue lashing.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm making the call right now. Super Bowl 51, you are going to see the New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that's the one I want. That's the one I want. I picked for what I wasn't going to get. I would love to see Green Bay, New England. I think that's a game I'll wait for. But at the same time, I'll be excited about Pittsburgh, Atlanta.
I don't know if the television networks will be too pleased with Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Maybe Atlanta and New England, but
I don't know. I think there's any of the matchups that could occur this weekend. I think the Super Bowl ratings would be just fine. I think they're all equally intriguing. I like this. I said something earlier to T here. I think all 4 teams, you could make a legitimate argument, could win it all. And sometimes, we've talked about in years past where there's a random team in the NFC Championship game, you're like, okay, no one wants to see that team. They don't even belong here. And me personally, that's how I would feel if the Kansas City Chiefs were to have won that game, Pittsburgh. Because I don't think there was a legitimate chance for Kansas City ever to win it all. I don't. But I think you could make a good argument for each 4 teams. The Steelers, because of how high octane their offense, and as well as Atlanta, same scenario. The Patriots, because they're the fucking Patriots. And I don't think there's any need more to be said. Belichick, Brady, enough said. And then you have the Packers because of Mr. Aaron Rodgers. So there's 4 good arguments. 4 teams that legitimately have a shot. That's why any matchup I think is interesting.
It is.
Great
Let me
point.
point something else out
Valid
here too,
point.
Joey. Yeah, really well said there. The home team in the AFC Championship game, there's something to that, especially when you're New England. You're playing at home. That's going to have a big deal to it. And I'm starting to stare at my pick once I put it on paper and it becomes real, and I can tell you how much I don't like it. And I think it's going to be the other way around. New England wins 20-16.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to change my pick?
You can do whatever you want. It's your show.
Gosh darn right. You're darn tootin'.
You clock goblin fool.
Yeah, clock goblin son of a bitch.
Clock gobbler. Right in the ghoulie.
Hey, Joey, can you say clock gobbler 5 times straight real fast?
No.
Good.
Yeah, start with I'm a clock goggler. Goggler.
Gobbler slogger.
Yeah, we're not right. So anyway, on that note, man, there you have it. The tank is empty. The stage is set. These should be good ones, man. I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully everybody out there enjoys their Sunday, enjoys the week leading up to it. We will probably go on hiatus after the championship weekend here and come back after the following weekend and be ready to jump in and talk about the big dance, the Super Bowl, the gunfight in Houston, which if it's any one of these 4 teams, it's going to be a shootout.
Well, let me ask one question before we pass this on. And I hate to be continuous, but DraftKings, who is your sleeper pick in DraftKings this week?
DraftKings. Well, as you all know, myself and Harbor Mike will be jumping on here tomorrow night to do that, but I'll be happy to share some thoughts with you right now. I think that if you're going to do this, the best way to put these teams together, you've only got 2 games, 4 teams. You got to put 4 lineups together. You got to do a stack with every quarterback.
That's a very good point. Very good point. I like it.
But I think that Matt Ryan's going to be the least owned.
Yeah. My sleeper pick, I'm going to go with Taylor Gabriel.
Okay. I'll tell you who you really don't want to jump on as a quarterback in this one is either one of them from the New England-Pittsburgh game. I'm not thrilled about either one of those guys putting up 300-yard days.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if anyone's going to put the points on the board, it's going to come from that NFC contest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the environment too. You trust 2 really good quarterbacks in a dome rather than you trust really 2 good quarterbacks in who knows what kind of weather New England will have by Sunday.
Final score from Atlanta: Green Bay 7, Atlanta 9.
Then we know how crazy things been. That's I think if that happens, I think an asteroid is coming.
That's right. You've all gone and lost your damn minds. Yeah. So on that note, man, everybody tune in tomorrow night. We'll check out the DraftKings FanDuel Daily Fantasy Lineup Builder. And on behalf of all of us here at the Line Sports Talk Podcast and our faithful listeners out there, which that listener base is growing week by week, we see it in the statistics, and I really, really appreciate it. We'd like to say thank you. And stick around because there's a lot more fun stuff coming. Well, maybe it's not fun, but there's stuff coming. Hey, Clock Gobbler, say good night.
Good night, you bunch of clock gobblers. See, I can't. You asked me to say it 5 times in a row. I can't even say it once.
Oh, it's a mouthful.
Now that's a good one. That's a great one to end on.
Yeah, we'll call it. Everybody have a great night.
Bye-bye.